Hello students, so myself Ruminder Kaur. So it is a second video lecture of chapter number 2, Biological Classification. Today's topic is Kingdom Protista. So as we have studied all the different kind of bacteria come under Kingdom Monera, and here we will study different kind of unicellular eukaryotes that are placed under Protista. Let's study its characteristic feature. First, they all are eukaryotes, means they have well-defined nucleus and even a membrane-bound organelles. Second, they most are unicellular, means they are made up of single cell only. Most of them are heterotrophs. It means whenever there is a presence of sunlight, then they can make their own food. Otherwise, they depend upon any other plant for their food. Last is they are mostly living in water, so we call them as an aquatic habitat organism. There are further 5 subcategories of kingdom Protista. Number 1, chrysophytes. Number 2, dinoflagellates. Number 3, euglenoids. Number 4, slime molds. And number 5, last is protozoans. Some of them they have flagella or cilia for movement. They can reproduce both sexually and asexually. So to brief out, here are the pictures of all the 5 categories: chrysophytes, dinoflagellates, then protozoans, ciliated, and the other sporozoites which are coming under this kingdom Protista. Let's first of all study with the chrysophytes. So chrysophytes, they are diatoms and golden algae. Most of us, when we are watching Discovery Channel, when they are showing the underside look of the oceans, you must have seen these plant like structures. So you may get confused that these are plants, but they are not plants. They are the different protists such as chrysophytes called as diatoms or golden algae. So they are the major producers in the oceans. They are making the food for the rest of the organisms. They contain different pigments inside them. Chlorophyll, which is similar as present in the leaves of the plants. Carotene, the pigment which is found in carrot that gives red color to it. So similar to that, this pigment is also present in them. And xanthophylls. Their cell wall is either made up of pectin or cellulose or silica. They all are living in water, either fresh water or salty water, that is marine. They are floating passively on water. Active and passive are two terms. Actively means when they are floating along with the water stream, but because they are attached to some of the substratum on the floor of the ocean, that's why they are floating passively. Now let's come to the second category, that is dinoflagellates. So these organisms, they are mostly living in salty water. They are photosynthetic, means they can make their own food. Now, as you can see in the picture, a red tide in the ocean. So these dinoflagellates can be of various colors due to different pigments present in their cells: yellow, green, brown, blue, or red. Their cell wall contains cellulose plates on the outer surface. They mostly have two flagellas. So the thread-like structures in the A figure which are coming out, these two are called as flagellas which help them in movements. Then red dinoflagellates such as Goniolex, like the picture I have shown you. So the red color of the ocean appears because of the excessive amount of these red dinoflagellates, and they multiply at such a high rate that all the tides appear red in color, like a blood is mixed in the water. Some of them also release few toxins that can kill the other animals such as fishes. Now come to the third category, that is euglenoid. So most of them are living in fresh water. Instead of a cell wall, they have a outer protein layer which is made up of pellicle, which makes them so flexible to move. They also have two flagella, but they are not of same size. One is shorter and other is longer. In the presence of sunlight, they make the food by themselves, but when there is no sunlight, then they develop the food from other organism. some of the pigments of euglenoids that are identical to the higher plants. Means if the higher plants have the pigment chlorophyll A, B, C, so most of those pigments are found in these euglenoids also. Example is euglena. Next is slime molds. These are saprophytic protists. They cannot make their own food. They depend upon dead end they depend upon dead and decaying twigs. Twigs means branches of the trees and leaves. Under suitable condition, sometimes they also make plasmodium which can grow to a large strength. During unfavorable condition, they also develop into fruiting bodies, have spores in them. So with the help of spores, they can divide and they can move from one place to another. Now coming to the next part, that is protozoans. Most of you are familiar with amoeba, paramecium, etc. So all of these lie under protozoans. They are heterotrophs, means they cannot make their own food. Either they can be predators. Predators means they can eat someone, or they can be living inside or outside the body of any other host organism. It includes four different kind of protozoans. Number 1, amoeboid. Number 2, ciliated. Number 3, sporozoites. And number 4, flagellated. Let's first of all start with amoeboid. So obviously it will include amoeba that is living in fresh water, sea water, as well as in moist soil. All of you remember that it has false feet that are known as pseudopodia. So when the food is grabbed by these false feet, this process is called as endocytosis. So this is made up of only single cell. So some of them can be ant amoeba and they can cause different kind of infections in the body also. Now let's study about the second category, that is flagellated protozoans. It means they have flagellas on their body, and these kind of protozoans, they are can be free living or they can live inside the body of other organisms. They can cause different kind of diseases in human beings. One of the most common is sleeping sickness, that is caused by a protozoan known as trypanosoma. Here I have given some extra information. So this is a parasitic disease transmitted by testifly. It gives its nickname sleeping sickness because the symptoms can include a disturbed sleep pattern. It is mostly observed in rural African country. So next is ciliated protozoans. Ciliated means they contain cilia on their body. So this is the structure of the paramecium that contains cilia on throughout the body. They are living in water, actively moving. They have one cavity that is either called as mouth or anus, through which the water or the other food substances are going inside. Last category of protozoan is sporozoans. So sporozoans are those organisms which mostly lead to infection. Malaria is caused by this sporozoan called as plasmodium, but it is being carried by Anopheles mosquito. So it is causing a problem in human population. Now let's come to the number third kingdom, that is fungi. Let's study the characteristics in brief. So they are made up of multi cells and they are coming under eukaryotes. They cannot make their own food, so they are coming under heterotrophic organisms. They have well defined nuclear membrane and they get the nutrients and energy from the surface they live on. Fungus can grow at any place wherever the moisture is available. They can grow on trees, they can grow on clothes, leathers, bags, shoes, any food particle, and even on the human body parts such as nails, ears. So that's why it is said that we have to keep a proper care of our body. There should be no moisture at any place, otherwise the fungal spores which are present in the outer environment, they can easily grow on our body itself. Fungus can be either eatable or edible, such as mushrooms, and many of them they can lead to diseases. Some of them are used to make different kind of antibiotics also. Example is penicillium. Fungus can cause diseases not only in humans but even in plants. Why it is always advised to keep the food in the refrigerator? Because if you keep it outside, a bad foul can come from it because of the either bacterial or the fungal infections. So the very first point is, with the exception that only yeast is one fungus that is unicellular and rest of them all are multicellular. The fungus is filamentous. Their body consists of cylinder thread-like structure. This is already being studied in class 10th also. So they are eukaryotic, heterotrophic. Eukaryotic means they have well-defined nuclear membrane, and heterotrophic means they depend upon other organisms for their food. Yeast is the only exemption, which is unicellular. Multicellular fungus, they have thin filaments called as hyphae, and hyphae they tangle into thick mass called as mycelium. Now, the cell wall of the fungi already talked about, it is made up of chitin but not of cellulose. So there are hyphae which are present which help them to stabilize. So they are, as they are heterotrophic, so sometimes the fungus grows and they are eating dead and decaying matter called as saprophytes. Some of them they live inside the plants or the animals, then they are called as parasites, and even they can live as symbionts. Symbiotes means they live in association with the algae, and this association is called as lichens. If they are living in association with the roots of the higher plants, then this association is called as mycorrhiza. Now, reproduction is varying with different means. It can reproduce by vegetative means, asexual reproduction, or sexual reproduction. In class 10th also, chapter reproduction, you have studied that most of the fungus, it can divide by fragmentation, fission, budding. Asexual reproduction takes place by the formation of the spores. The spores can be called as conidia, sporangiospores, or zoospores. But when it is reproducing sexually, then those spores are known as oospores, ascospores, or basidiospores. And the spores are produced on the structures called as fruiting bodies. The sexual cycle involves three steps that is more important. Number one, when the protoplasm of the two gametes, either the gametes they can move or they cannot move, that fusion of two protoplasm is called as plasmogamy. What is protoplasm? Protoplasm is the living component of the cell. Gametes means those structures which can be either male gamete or female gamete, produced by two different kind of fungus. After the fusion of protoplasm, the nucleus of these gametes will fuse. This process is called as karyogamy. And third step in the sexual cycle of the fungus is meiosis in zygote. Whenever male and female gametes fuse with each other, they form the zygote, and this zygote will undergo division with the help of meiosis, and the spores which will be formed are known as haploid spores. For the brief understanding, let's look upon this general fungi life cycle. So you can see during the asexual reproduction, spores are produced, spores will germinate and they will form mycelium. So mycelium is the fruiting body of the fungus, and again spores will produce. So asexual reproduction is going on. In case of sexual reproduction, first is plasmogamy, cytoplasm or the protoplasm of two gametes will fuse, then nucleus will fuse, zygote will form. After zygote, spore producing structures are formed, then again spores are formed, they will germinate and sexual reproduction will goes on. Here they have talked about three terms. One is haploid, second is heterokaryotic, third is diploid. If I take an example of human beings, how many chromosomes do we have? We have 46 chromosomes, or we can say 23 in pairs. If I call 23, it means haploid. If I say 23 multiplied by 2 is equal to 46, that is called as diploid. Gametes, that can be either sperms or egg. Their condition must be haploid, then only n plus n will become 2n, that is diploid. Zygote is always diploid, and gametes are always haploid. You will understand this topic as we will move forward in all the sub stages of these fungus. When these fungus are reproducing sexually, so two haploid hyphae, they will meet with each other and finally they will give rise to diploid cell. However, in other fungus such as ascomycetes and basidiomycetes, dikaryotic stage can take place and such a condition is called as dikaryon and the phase is called as dikaryophase. Later these nuclei they will fuse and make diploid structure and ultimately it will lead to haploid spores. So in the next video lecture I will talk about the various classes of fungus. Thank you.